Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all doing okay. Today we're going to talk about, obviously, what's right in front of you, avoiding plagiarism. This was a presentation that I love to give. I created this, and this presentation won me an award for a rising star within the Guilford County Schools ACT program. So I had a blast creating it, and always love giving it. And I think you'll enjoy it too. But here we go. So, what we're going to do today is talk about MLA formatting and how you can make sure that you're following this when you want to cite something within your writing. And we're going to talk about best strategies to avoid plagiarism. So, our agenda is we're going to play a little game. Then, I'm going to introduce you to the MLA format. We'll talk about plagiarism. We'll give you ways to think about presenting outside sources, whether you quote it, you paraphrase it, or summarize it. We'll do the quotation sandwich, and then we'll do the exit ticket. So with several things that are going on, I'm going to refer to a couple of outside sources that I want you to look at. You'll find it in the module. I think I will place these before the PowerPoint. So you should look at those and read them, and so then you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it that way, I think. I don't know. I guess you'll find out. So the game we're gonna play, Tupac or not Tupac? That is the question. So I don't know about you, but I really like memes, and I think that this. Well, let me ask you this: have you ever like seen a meme and you're just like, yeah, there's a picture of Gandhi, and then there's a quote beside it, and it says something about your mom? Yeah, there's no way that Gandhi said that, right? So one of the things I'm fascinated by is how we can essentially find ourselves tricked by fake memes. So memes that basically have a quotation with an attribute to that person that's pictured. However, that's not the person who said that. So that is the basis of this game. You really don't need to have familiarity with Tupac. I mean, I kind of know his music, but I'm not like a huge fan. It's just not my style. No, nothing. Anyway, so if you're not familiar with Tupac, don't worry. You can still play along because I think you'll get the hang of it. So what I want you to do is just on a piece of paper, so you can keep track of how well you do. If it's Tupac, just write a T, and if it's not Tupac, if you think it's not Tupac, then I want you to write a 0. Okay, so write a T if you think it's Tupac, and then a 0 if you think it is not Tupac. Here's your first one. Our future is our confidence and self-esteem. So do you think this is Tupac or not Tupac? I'll give you a second to write your answer. Just T or 0. If you put a T for Tupac, you are correct. This is from a 96 interview. It was earlier in the year. This is the year that Tupac died. Or if you follow the Illuminati, then you think that I'm lying to you. Okay. All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Tupac, not Tupac. It's not Tupac. It's Walt Disney. Comes from an article by Lewis Howes titled 20 Lessons from Walt Disney. Were you fooled? I mean, Tupac likes to talk about your future, likes to talk about dreams, very positive. So, I think I got some of you. All right, here's the next one. If you can make it through the night, there's a brighter day. Tupac, not Tupac. It's Tupac. It's from his song Dear Mama. Pay no mind to those who talk behind your back. It simply means that you are 2 steps ahead. Tupac or not Tupac? It's Tupac. It's from an article by Michael McGowan don't blame me. In too many communities, too many young men of color are left behind and seen only as objects of fear. Tupac, not Tupac. It's not. It's Barack Obama. It's a statement by our president, August 18th, 2014. I miss you, Obama. Okay. I don't have no fear of death. My only fear is coming back reincarnated. Tupac or not Tupac? It's Tupac from Only Fear of Death. I think this is the last one. I'm half living my life between reality and fantasy at all times. Tupac, not Tupac. It's not Tupac, it's Lady Gaga. It's from a Simon Hattenstone article that appeared in The Guardian called Lady Gaga Lording It, May 13th, 2011. So one of the things that you might have noticed is that with every answer that I give you, I'm also providing you where it came from. Why is that important? Well, this is exactly what we're talking about. If you liked a quote, right? And if you wanted to kind of make sure, like, hey, wait a minute, yeah, I don't think that's Tupac. Where did this really come from? You can go and find it. Or if it is Tupac, then you know also where you can go and you can locate it. So that's why all of this is really important. So Abe Lincoln once said, don't believe everything you read on the internet just because there's a picture with a quote next to it. Yeah, right. So fake memes are such a predominant part of our internet culture that sort of feeds into our reality. And so much so that factcheck.org actually has a page that covers memes. This one is dealing more with the refugees and this was back when there was the huge crisis between the migrant caravan, quote unquote, and the quote crisis on our southern border. So there were a lot of memes with what looked like information that were floating around that got people all up in a roar, but a lot of that information was false. So factcheck.org has actually a page dedicated just to fake memes. So especially now with COVID 19, and I know I said I wasn't going to talk about it, and I'm not. I'm just going to say that it's a good resource to go check out things that you find online. All right, so the MLA stands for Modern Language Association. Why are we like pressuring you to do this? Well, it's a standard format that's used for essay writing. So you'll have this in high school, but not only high school, you'll see this in college, and you'll see this format as a standard format for any humanities class. So especially your English classes that you take in high school, and when you get to college, they're going to ask you, they're going to expect that you know MLA. So we're going to cover a couple of parameters here of what that should look like. So the format of your first page of your essay will look like this. You're going to have a header at the top. So the top right, you're going to see that there's a half-inch margin. I'm going to tell you this right now. You don't have to worry about doing anything in Word in regards to margins. It's the default anyway. So they're just kind of showing you where this is placed. There's also a video that I created for y'all. When you go into this module, you're going to see a video about the MS Word MLA template. We did this a while back in class when we were doing the first writing assignment. I showed you how to get into Word and how to access this. So I just went ahead and did a screencast video for you. So a lot of this will be taken care of if you just follow those guidelines, but I still want to walk you through what each of these pieces are. So at the top right, you've got the header. So with the header, you've got the student last name and the page number. And that page number should advance with the pages of your essay. And that last name, that header should stay as is throughout the whole essay. Then you drop down on the left of the line. You've got the student name, you got the instructor name, you got the class, and then you got the date. All of that is double spaced. The whole essay is double spaced. The other thing to keep in mind here is the date format. It's the day, the month, and the year. Obviously, it's right there in front of you. However, a lot of students mess this up. So keep that in mind as you move through formatting any type of paper. The title is centered. And I talk about this a little bit with the MLA template because it kind of, the title gives you the option of having a colon. So you have a title and a subtitle. It's not necessary to have a subtitle. So you could just have a regular title. That title is not in bold and it's not underlined, but you do capitalize most of the words except for the 2 and the 4 and the A, right? So you see that. Then you hit enter. Then you make sure that you left a line again. This is also a mistake that I see a number of students make. They end up keeping everything centered and they don't think to left the line, and then their whole formatting, it looks really, really wonky. So make sure that after you hit enter that you hit left align and it brings you back to the left side of that page. Then for you to indent 1/2 inch, all you got to do is hit the tab key. That key is located in the top left part of your keyboard. All right. So it's not escape and it's not the tilde. That's that little squiggly line or the accent mark. It's the one right below that. So it's the 3rd key on the top left going down. You'll hit tab once and then you can start typing. So that is what the first page of an MLA paper looks like. So again, standard margins, you don't need to worry about that. You need to create a header if you don't follow the template, and you do so by double clicking at the top of the page. It'll bring you into the header. And then what I would do there is page number on the top right, and then you can type your last name. Then you can close the header, and then it's double space, left align, your name, instructor name, class, the date, enter, center, get your title, enter, left align, indent, hit the tab, and then start typing. So with each new paragraph that you create, you'll hit enter, and then you'll hit tab, and then you'll have the next paragraph. So let's talk about plagiarism. What is plagiarism? So plagiarism is basically you are stealing someone else's work and passing that off as your own. You are not giving proper credit where credit is due. Plagiarism is cheating. Plagiarism can get you in a lot of trouble, especially in college. If it's your first offense, usually what happens is the professor or the instructor will have you redo the assignment. That is if you get lucky. Usually what happens is that you'll take a 0 for the assignment, and no matter what, it's usually reported to the dean of students. So then you go to the dean of students office, and then you're also usually put through this some sort of article or web video that you have to watch, and then you have to write some self-reflection. You'll do something like that. If you have, it also depends on the severity of the plagiarism. I'll also put that out there. So if you happen to plagiarize an entire essay, then that's really severe. And usually that's where you'll see the 0 for the assignment without the opportunity to correct your mistake. Sometimes students just get confused as to how to properly write something or how to properly cite something. So if that's the case, sometimes you get the 0 with the opportunity to redo the assignment, especially if it's your first offense. But if it's your second offense, then you're looking at potentially failing the class. And if you have multiple offenses in multiple classes, this isn't just English all, this is in any class, a biology class, sociology class. You do not want to plagiarize. You want to make sure that you are covering everything that you borrow from another source, because you could face suspension for a semester. And that means that you are out of school for the entire semester, and that is every class that you're in. You could also face expulsion, depending again on how often you are plagiarizing and the extent. So this could like snowball into something that's really, really huge. No matter what, an academic integrity violation goes on your transcript. So there's just a number of things that just can happen that are not worth the risk. So do not take someone else's work and pass it off as your own. Now we're going to talk about some strategies here that we can use. So one of the ways that you can look at this, if you look at the right side, that arrow going down, represents the words. And so at the very top, you got the source material. So if you were taking something directly from the source and you're not changing anything at all, right? This is where you want to quote. So to quote something, you still have your attribution no matter what with any of these, whether it's a quote, a paraphrase, or a summary. So your attribution introduces the material, says where it comes from, probably gives like the title of the book or of the article. Maybe you provide some sort of credential on your author that you're using. All of that is your attribution, your signal phrase. Okay. Now we talked about that last week, well, the week before spring break, and you've had practice with that, and a lot of you did really well with this. So you have your signal phrase, your attribution, then you provide your quote, your paraphrase, your summary. So to quote the source, you'll put quotation marks. Then you provide the quote, and this is where the words are exactly as they appear within the original. Then you put an end quote, then you provide your parenthetical citation, and then that usually has the author, unless you've used the author in your attributions, and therefore you would just provide the page number. Then you end that parenthetical and you give your punctuation. We'll talk about this more in just a little bit. Anyhow, with a quote shouldn't be more than 2 lines of your essay. So if you were starting to extend into a third line of your essay, and what I mean, like as you are typing the quote, right? Then your quote's probably a bit too long. And what you want to do is avoid that. You can either break it up, so you can like, basically say, so and so states that, right? And then you give like maybe a sentence or two of that quote, give the citation, then explain what that means. And then you could go, and Dr. Smith continues, and then give the rest of the quote that you might want to use. End the quote, give the citation, and then talk about that a little bit. No matter what, with a quote, you don't just drop it in there and walk away from it. You give your quote, and then you explain your quote. We'll talk about that in a little bit with a quotation sandwich. Now, as we move to a paraphrase is a blend. It's basically like, let's say there is a paragraph of material that you're like, yeah, I need to provide this information. So let's say it's a paragraph or two where you are, if you try to quote that, that's going to be way, 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 way too long. So with a paraphrase, what this does is it captures the big ideas and holds to some of the original language, but you do not present it in the same way, in the same order that's in the original. So it's a blend of the source and you. So that's why it's kind of in the middle. And then we'll talk about paraphrase, and you'll see some examples here in just a second. Finally, you got the summary. So the summary is really all in your words. So that's why you have the you at the bottom, and they're primarily, it's you. You're talking about it. You are providing the summary of how I would look at a summary is that it's more of summarizing a section of an article. And with a summary, you're hitting the big ideas. You're not getting too centered on the details. And it's mainly in your words. Summaries show that you understand the material and you know how to talk about the material. No matter what, though, you have to give your attribution, signal phrase. You got to cite your sources. Even with a summary, you got to make sure that you're doing that. Okay, so we're going to use this original source material, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples of paraphrasing. So here's the original, like this is what we would look at, and this is what somebody wants to use, right, in their writing. So this is from, the source is McPhee, published in 2016 from page 182. So the shifting fortunes of war had a terrible impact, and not just on those who were killed or maimed in the fighting. When the Republican General Castine's forces took the city of Mainz and the Rhineland in October 1792, local patriots created a Society of Friends of Liberty and Equality with 500 members, adapted their own version of the Marseillaise, the Burglar der Mansier, and planted a liberty tree. Okay, so This is the original. What are the big ideas here? What are the things that we really need to know in order to properly paraphrase this? So it's about the war. It's about General Custine's forces taking a city. We get the city name, we get the location, we get the date. We also have this thing about local patriots creating the society, writing their own version of a Marseillaise, and then they plant this tree. Okay, let's look at this paraphrase. So, when the Republican forces took Mainz in 1792, a group of patriots formed a society with 500 people. They wrote their own version of the Marseillaise and planted a liberty tree. So, do you think that this is good? You think there's anything here that would get a student in trouble? We'll put it side by side. I'll give you a second to look at it. What I would do is look at the paraphrase, right? When the Republican forces took Mainz in 1792, and then try to locate it there in the original. So what's happening here is this would basically result in the charge of plagiarism. You have word for word, basically how this appears in the paraphrase is exactly how it appears in the original. And you can't just change a few words here or there. You can't omit things. You can't select a word and then go look and see what a synonym for it happens to be and think that you wrote it. No, it will still get you nailed for plagiarism. So this would get the student in trouble. This would result in potentially failing the assignment, especially if this student, if this is how the student wrote the entire paper. Yeah, I mean, this would just be a major issue. So you do not do this. So let's look at a proper paraphrase. A group of patriots from the captured city of Mainz formed their own society honoring the ideals of the revolution, expressing these ideals by planting a liberty tree and creating a local variation of the Marseillaise. And then you also have the citation. So putting these side by side, this would actually work. I will say the one thing I need to fix on this slide is I need to, no, never mind. It's fine. I don't think, yeah, never mind. I'm going to be quiet. So here, you've got the big ideas. You got the patriots. You got when they captured the city. You got they formed a society, that they honored the ideals of the revolution, and that they also planted this tree. So you notice that it's still taking some of the same terminology, like patriot, like liberty tree, right? But nowhere in the paraphrase do you find the same order of words, okay, that you do from the original. So you want to make sure that you're taking the big ideas and some of that same language, but that you are, sometimes it could be reordering it. Sometimes it can be just a matter of, all right, I just had to explain and summarize this brief bit by introducing what's important. All right, so for the quotation sandwich, this is just a strategy that's used, and we've done this pretty much already. We worked on this before spring break, but this is just a neat way to think about it. So with your with the top bun, with the introduction, you want to make sure you're introducing who said it. You want to tell us something about the author so that helps with shows their credentials and helps build and establish your credibility. And you might want to mention the article or where you got it from. And then you also make sure that you are showing the tone and the attitude of the author. So one way that you could do that is use a phrase like Dr. Smith argues that, right? So that's kind of like showing that Dr. Smith is asserting something. But let's say that the tone is kind of like a dire warning, right? So you could actually say, Dr. Smith cautions us, or Dr. Smith warns about, right? So that captures the tone of the author. Once you do that, then you're going to give your quotation. So you see, insert the quotation with your quotation marks. So I would also say that you would insert a paraphrase or that you could insert your summary. It's fine to, even if you're writing your summary, to say, to summarize the points of Dr. Smith, a researcher from the CDC whose article is blah, 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 right? And then you provide your summary. That's really fine. I would highly encourage it. The other thing that's missing from this slide is that you want to provide your parenthetical in-text citation. So that's the other piece to this that I would put in there. And then finally, you explain it. You basically are kind of, in your words, you're summarizing what the author says. What does it mean? Why is it important for your argument? Why are you using it? That's essentially the question. Like, why does this matter to you and to your essay? And that's what you do. You write that answer right there, and you still want to make sure that you're keeping the author's original tone. So that is the quotation sandwich. This information is coming from the Purdue Online Writing Lab. And if you go to Google and you just start typing Purdue, Purdue, usually this is like one of the first things that pops up. And they have an amazing website, the OWL, and then you can just start looking up MLA help. I think it's like MLA handbook, something to that effect. You'll see it. So in-text citations. We'll talk about this just for a little bit. And in-text citations, we also call them parenthetical citations. So you'll see either or, and this is important. So if you are quoting material and in your signal phrase you use the author, then the in-text citation does not require the author name. It just requires a page number. So our first example, Wordsworth is mentioned in the setup. So therefore, with the parenthetical citation, you just need the page. Second example, this is just basically taking, sort of like embedded within the writing itself. So therefore, you want to put Wordsworth's name in the parenthetical citation because it does not appear as a signal phrase. And then finally, the bottom one just shows how you could write an effective paraphrase of what this means. And you notice that Wordsworth is mentioned in this sentence, so therefore you're just given the page number. The reason why there isn't a quote is because this is just, hey, I'm summarizing this big idea of his. And so therefore, boom, there we go. Just a couple other things, because I know that we love the internet so much. So when you are pulling something from the internet, you want to make sure that you are, of course, using the author name, try to get the article name. So within the parenthetical, a website name will work, an article name will work alongside the author's name if it's listed. You do not need to give paragraph numbers for web pages with MLA. So I'll say that if you are provided, so let's say you go online. This is for when you go online and you're just using a web page, right? And with that web page, there's lots of great information. If it's just a standard web page without page numbers, then you're not going to worry about that. Now, if you are using an online article, then you would use pagination because the article itself is basically a PDF, a facsimile of the original in print version of that. And so if you have page numbers with an article that you find in like a online journal, then you'll use page numbers within your citation. Same thing goes for a periodical. If you're looking at something on the New York Times, or any type of online newspaper that does give you a section and page, then you'll make sure that you use that in your citation, in-text citation. Otherwise, yeah, you don't have to worry about paragraph number or anything like that. You just want to also make sure that within your in-text citation that you're just sort of saying it's like the corporate website. So if it's like CNN.com, right, then that's what you would put. You wouldn't put the entire web address in your parenthetical citation. That's a little bit different when we get to works cited, but we will talk about works cited next week. So there's an article that I've got posted in the module. It's about catfishing. And so what I want you to do is take some time to read that article, and then I want you to answer these questions. And I'll have a quiz built into the module for you just to give these short answers. This is a real helpful. I had bookmarks that I give out that kind of have a number of questions. It's a strategy that you can use to help you with quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing. So I'll see if I can locate that as well, and I'll put the template for the bookmark up there too, because then you can make your own. And this is to help you with any subject. It's not just English. So as you're reading, again, science, biology, sociology, these things can really help you process difficult material. So this is questioning the author activity. So I'll have these questions available for you to provide short answers for. And that, my friends, wraps us up. So we've covered MLA formatting as far as in-text citations, and the importance of using those is to help you avoid plagiarism so that you can stay out of trouble.